Hello everybody, welcome to this video here on G4G. Today we're in World of Warcraft and we're talking about, does artifact power necessitate the need for an alt instead of running an alt spec? So this is something that I started thinking about today, and it kind of slowly dawned on me that perhaps the way things are going with artifact power, if you need to switch specs rather permanently, does it make a little bit more sense to run a completely separate character rather than actually changing specs? So, as you know, in World of Warcraft Legion, everybody gets a legendary. You get a legendary. You get a legendary. Everybody gets a legendary. Bees. And you get them per spec. So, for example, my druid has the Claws of Ursoc for guardian tanking, which is my main. But I also have the Scythe of Elune, the Fangs of Ashaman, and the Gehanner, the Mother Tree. And that is for tanking Boomkin, Kitty, and Resto, respectively. So, what exactly does that mean? That means, say this becomes a scenario. Say my guild is recruiting, and we come across 5 people that want to join the guild. And where is this mud? This mud is not here. Where is the mud? There's supposed to be mud in this cave for me to click on. It is not here. I don't know why. Maybe it is not up for now, because maybe the boss has been killed. I'm currently looking to click on the mud that is in this cave for Kazumoth, but I'm not seeing any mud to click on. So say, oh, wait. Nope, there we go. This should be the mound of dirt. And there's the weather relic. Sweet. So, these 5 people want to join the guild. 4 of which represent classes and stuff that we really would like and would be quite awesome. But the 5th is a tank. And let's say we have 2 great main tanks in the guild, myself and somebody else. But we really want these 5 people. And they won't come unless the tank joins. And let's say that tank does nothing but actually tank. So now we're kind of screwed. How do we get these 5 people in and get this tank in and have everything be okay? Well, one of our tanks could not tank and make room. And let's say I decide, okay, you know what? Kitty DPS is actually really high right now. Let's go ahead and move me over to Kitty, because single target is doing so well for kitties right now. And that'd be good in raids. And I look at my claws, and I look at all this artifact power that I have accumulated since the beginning of the game. In Legion, that is. So, starting at 100, Legion drops, bang. I am currently sitting at 22,800, and my next slot is about 8k away. 30k. So, I have split down the middle just about half my artifact unlocked. And that is all of the artifact power that was gained while questing and getting mob drops and getting rare drops and doing world quests and doing dungeons, and, you know, a little bit to the side when I would kitty when some other people would tank dungeons. Some of the artifact power that I got while in that dungeon, you know, those little purple jewel things, got applied, and, you know, just the quest from doing a random that day. My kitty dagger has some artifact power in it. And now, lo and behold, it's like, okay, I'm now going to take the bullet for the team, and I'm going to kitty, and this new guy's going to tank. Well, okay, so my gear's relatively going to stay in place, and I'm going to adjust my talons and my spec, and, you know, about a 40 item level here. Except for the fact that my claws are 860, my fangs are 820. Equipping them, I'm not going to be near 840 anymore. They're really kind of dropping me out of what should be going on for Emerald Nightmare. This is where artifact power becomes a problem, and it's almost better to just roll a new druid. And you might be thinking, why? Why not just take the 110 and do all that work? And take all that work that you did, leveling and everything, and just become a cat off of that druid. Why would you restart all the way at 1 and try to raise a new tune at this? Well, the thing is, I would use like my free boost or spend the $60 and boost up if I hadn't done the free one, and start at 100 and start everything over again as a kitty spec. And the reason is, think of all those gobs of artifact power from quests, from world quests, from heroics, from dungeons, from rares, from drops in dungeons, from drops out in the world. Think of all of that stuff that went into making my Claws of Ursoc, my main weapons, that could have applied to my kitty, or a boomkin, or a resto. And now suddenly, that's all gone to waste. Because, you know, as we know from RPGs throughout the years, when we have parties and sometimes groups that are bigger than the amount of party slots and everything, some games, everybody gains the same level. Some games, if they're not in the party, they don't. Some, they gain partial. I mean, I believe there's even gear that you can use in Pokemon that does that. That allows people not active to gain experience. If I remember correctly. So, now, all of this A-power that has been built up to get my legendary halfway complete has now gone to waste. And I can't get that back. So now I have to be a cat. And in order for me to really do my job effectively, these daggers need to be built up more and be raid worthy. And in looking at what makes these daggers good, let's just discuss the ones that would be very good. Feral Power, critical strike by 5%. That's pretty good. Increase the damage dealt by swipe. Yeah, more for trash than bosses. Hardened Roots, who cares? Duration of survival instincts, that's a survival thing, not a DPS thing. Thrash has a 25% chance to release the Heart of Ashamain Soul, causing all nearby enemies to take 57k shadow damage. That's pretty good, especially for trash. Bango Cabango, that's pretty good for a raid. Tear the Flesh, increased damage dealt by Rake, very good for bosses. The Fangs of Ashamain tear deep into your target, causing your attacks to ignore 50% of the target's armor while Rip is active. Boss and trash. Tiger's Fury generates additional energy. Boss and trash. Razor Fangs, increase the damage dealt by Rip. Boss and trash. Each target hit by Thrash. Alright, a little on the trash side there, but I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff, including even, you know, super high-powered relics and everything like that. I mean, there's an 805 over there. There's an 835, but there's an empty, and there's an 805 compared to an 830, an 803, and an 850. So, I mean, there's even relics that you have been slotting elsewhere that are going to come into play. If I was to restart and get a new 100 and level it through all the questing again and all those opportunities to gain artifact power, including rares that drop stuff only the first time you encounter them, then my cat is properly in good shape. You can sit there and say, well, why not just convert over to Kitty right now and do all your world quests and all your dungeons and everything as a cat? I don't know which one is the faster catch-up. To convert midstream and hope that all of the modern stuff catches me up. For example, alright, so we have gold over here. We have no artifact power here. Gold. That's crispy bacon. Okay, 325 artifact power over there. So you could say just convert. Do dungeons. Do the world quests as a cat. And, you know, there's a 760 that's a guarantee. I don't know which is the faster catch-up. The faster catch-up might be to go back to 100 and level a druid completely as a cat and dump all of that leveling artifact power into the daggers, rather than just try to convert midstream and now dump all the artifact power in. You've gone through the game once. You probably have an ideal leveling path. You may know some stuff you want to skip. I mean, obviously all the rares are back on the table. They all drop their first time stuff. Maybe you do research on Wowhead and say, I'm only really going to do quests that give me artifact power. And I'm just going to do a narrow focus. Is Blizzard really screwing multi-class specs at this point? And I think a lot of people are quite concerned about that. And quite concerned about what artifact power means for dual specking. And in flex style raids, and I would imagine even in mythic raids, when you get your set 20 and everything, there may be fights where you need to drop a healer to get DPS for an enrage time. Then what happens? Do you kick him out of the raid? Do you have your Resto Druid go boomkin? How effective is he going to be if he's been dumping everything into his Ganir? How good is his Scythe going to be? Is he going to be ready for it? And this is where maybe legendaries and artifacts and A power winds up backfiring. So what do you guys think about it? Do you think if midstream your main spec had to change for some particular reason, do you think it would wind up being better to just leave the character as is, convert your spec, and dump all the future artifact power, dungeons, heroics, mythics, worlds, drops, when you're doing all of this, convert that into your new legendary? Or do you think it's simply better to start back over at 100 and absorb all of that into the new spec along the way? So what do you think about that, guys? Which do you think would be faster under the current conditions, under the current time? So as of now, we know Emerald Nightmare is open. We are talking about the scenario that the first time you walked in there, you were doing X. Things changed, and now you need to do Y. Would it be better to go back to 100 and absorb everything that way? Or just take your existing character, switch legendaries, and do all future artifact power into the new legendary that you're focusing on and kind of shelve the old one? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you've even thought about this kind of situation and thought about what you might do if you were faced with it. Peace out, everybody.